The year was 2178, and humanity had finally started to believe it was something special. For centuries, people had looked up at the stars and wondered if anyone was looking back. Now they had their answer, and it came without warning on a Tuesday afternoon. It happened during a perfectly ordinary day. In London, people were leaving work. In Tokyo, crowds filled the crosswalks. In a small coastal town, a fisherman was mending his nets. Then the sky changed. A spacecraft, so massive it blocked out the sun for miles around, simply appeared. There was no gradual approach, no flashing lights, no dramatic entrance. One moment the sky was empty, and the next, this thing was just there, hanging in the atmosphere like it had always belonged there. The ship was beautiful in a way that frightened people. It wasn't built like anything humans had ever imagined. It curved in directions that hurt the eyes to follow, and its surface seemed to drink in light rather than reflect it. Small crafts, no bigger than cars, began descending from the main vessel, moving toward every major city on the planet with frightening precision. On the ground, panic spread faster than any virus. Streets clogged with cars as people tried to flee, though flee to where? Stores were looted. Prayers were shouted. Some people simply sat on curbs and waited for the end. The military scrambled jets, but the small alien craft ignored them completely, hovering silently over cities as if taking photographs, or perhaps waiting for something. Then the message came. It didn't come through radios or televisions. It came directly into the mind of every human on Earth at the same moment. The voice was calm, patient, and utterly without emotion. It said that humanity had broken rules. Ancient rules. Rules that had kept peace in the galaxy for longer than Earth had existed. A single human would be taken to answer for these crimes. There would be no negotiation. There would be no delay. In a secure bunker beneath a mountain, the leaders of Earth's most powerful nations stared at each other across a long table. Screens showed the alien craft hovering above their capitals. The silence in the room was heavy enough to choke on. They had no weapons that could touch that ship. They had no technology that could even track how it moved. They had nothing but fear and questions. The general in charge of Earth's defense forces, a weathered woman who had spent 40 years preparing for every possible military threat, was the first to speak. She said simply that they couldn't fight this. Her voice cracked when she said it. The room stayed silent because everyone knew she was right. All those war games, all those strategies, all those budgets spent on weapons to fight each other. And now something real had come, and they had nothing. The president spoke next. He asked who they would send. Who would volunteer to meet something that could wipe out humanity without breaking a sweat? Who could possibly speak for 7 billion terrified people? The room filled with suggestions, politicians naming names, each trying to push the burden onto someone else. The argument grew heated until a quiet voice cut through the noise. It was the ambassador. Nobody had paid him much attention until that moment. He was a man in his 50s, known for solving problems quietly, rather than making speeches loudly. He had spent his career in difficult places, negotiating with people who didn't want to negotiate, finding common ground where none seemed to exist. He stood up from his chair at the far end of the table and said he would go. The room stared at him. The president asked if he understood what he was volunteering for. The ambassador simply nodded. He said that if humanity was going to have any chance, they needed someone who understood that words were weapons too. Someone who could listen more than he talked. Someone who wouldn't be impressed by alien technology or intimidated by alien power. He didn't know if he was that person, but he was willing to try. Before anyone could argue, the air in the bunker shimmered. A small craft, no larger than a car, materialized inside the room. It made no sound. It disturbed nothing. It simply appeared, and a door slid open, revealing a warm golden light inside. The ambassador took a deep breath, looked back at the people he was leaving behind, and walked inside without another word. The journey to the main ship took less than a minute. Through a window that wasn't quite a window, the ambassador watched Earth shrink behind him. He thought about his wife, probably watching the news at home, not knowing he had just volunteered to leave her. He thought about his grandchildren, playing in their yard, unaware that the sky above them held creatures from another world. He pushed the thoughts away. He had a job to do.